Let's redefine the definition of the word champion. Let's redefine what we think a mighty warrior really looks like. There's some ice skater out there, and I'm not really into sports, to be quite honest with you. But if you've listened to my podcast episode, you know there's an episode I did a while ago about You Belong on the Ice. I forget the title I gave it, but for some reason, I'm mesmerized when I see a skater skating on the ice and he puts his head all the way down to the floor, to the ice. I don't know what it's called, but there's a name for it. But anyway, I digress. There's some skater out there. I don't know if his name starts with an L or with an I. And again, I don't know anything about the sport. I just know apparently he won a gold medal, and then somehow in some recent event, and I don't even watch the Olympics, so I can't even tell you when it happened. But anyway, that he didn't win the gold. Um, and there's something really remarkable I heard a coach say. And this, I guess, is some coach that teaches very high end athletes. And I only caught just a little bit of this, but it really, really stopped me in my tracks today. And I said, oh my goodness, this is really life changing what he just said. And apparently they were talking to this high performing coach, and they were having him reevaluate whoever this ice skater is. I don't even know the young man, God bless him, but I don't know him. um, but they asked him something about, what do you think happened, out there on the ice with him. And I'm totally paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what this coach said. And it wasn't, I don't think it was his direct coach at all. This is just some person sort of analyzing him. But anyway, the person said something like, um, he fell, and something like, uh, people don't understand the amount of stress and the amount of pressure that is on these athletes, and when they go out there on the floor. And he said something like, um, he failed, and when you fail publicly like this, he just said, something to the effect of, this is what makes him a champion. And it was a very positive message that he said about this young man. And just that little piece caught me. He said something like, this is what makes champions, or this is what makes him a champion. And I love the fact that even though whoever this young man is, God bless him, that didn't recently win the gold, I love that whoever this random athletic coach is, I don't even know the guy's name and couldn't even find it if I wanted to because I only saw it for a couple seconds. But I love that right after what looked like a defeat, a public defeat at that, I love that the man said something to the degree of, this is what makes champions, or something like that. And I just loved it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so incredible what was just said. I wonder, do we realize? And I think I'm going to call this podcast episode, You Are a Champion. I wonder, do you all realize? Let me put myself in this as well. I wonder, do we realize we are champions? And what makes us champions is not always getting it right, my dear brothers and sisters. We won't always get it right. We are going to mess up so much it's not even funny. Sometimes we are going to be afraid. Sometimes we are going to make mistakes. Sometimes we will wish we did something differently. Sometimes we will go through seasons and times in life where it just seems like, what in the world is even going on? Like, did life get turned upside down? Like, what happened? Sometimes we're going to go through all those stages. But that's what makes us a champion in the spirit. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a little bit. That's what makes you a champion, my dear brothers and sisters who are listening to this podcast episode right now, despite all of the things that you may have been gone through recently, all of the trials and tribulation, all of those mistakes that may keep circling around in your head at times where you felt like you messed something up, or you wish you would have done something differently, or maybe none of those are your issue, but you're just struggling right now with thinking, of your value, or just thinking through, okay, where am I at this season in life? Where's my next stage? Where am I going to? No matter what it looks like, that's what makes you a champion in the spirit. That's what makes you a champion. We all fall down, but it's the getting back up. They did. Someone put up an interview with this young man, and again, only saw maybe just a couple seconds of it. And apparently, there was some other race that he was trying to be in years prior, and I guess he didn't make the. I don't know. I guess I'll just say he didn't make the cut, right? And he said that because that happened, and I'm totally paraphrasing, that's what made him work even harder and harder and come back strong. And I guess apparently that's how he ended up coming back and winning the gold or whatever. And I thought that was so beautiful. I thought it is in the falls. What we call a fall, I don't even think it's really a fall, but it's what we call a fall. It's in the falls, it's in those times when we've been humbled, it's in those times when we've been disappointed, it's in those times when we're just like at our lowest in the valleys. It's in those moments. It's all throughout the Bible, but it's in those moments that we rise. It's in those moments. That's why I'm so in love with the book of Judges 6 and 7 when Gideon was approached. And I know you all may be tired of hearing me talk about Gideon, but that story just means so much to me. But I love Judges 6 and 7, and I love. Let me turn to it really quickly. I love verse. Well, I love all of it, but I love in verse 13. When the angel of the Lord, verse 12, when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." He called him a mighty warrior. And in verse 13, this is Gideon's response. But Sir Gideon replied, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Can anyone relate to that? You calling me a mighty warrior? Are you serious? Then why are all these things happening in my life? This is not to me what a mighty warrior looks like. This is not to me what a champion looks like. Falling down on the ice. How can that be a mighty warrior? No, you are a mighty warrior. It says in verse 13, but Sir Gideon replied, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? And then look at this. Where are all his wonders that our fathers told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? And then it goes on to talk about some other things. But think about that for a moment. He says, where's all his wonders? If the Lord is with me, then this is almost like saying, then where's the evidence? Now, I know many of you would never say that because anybody that listens to my podcast, I already know you love God, and I'm sure you all pray just as much as I do. So we may not ever say those words, but God knows sometimes we can be thinking it. But I love, love, love that he was just saying, but sir, if the Lord was with us, then why did this happen? Is what he's saying. And then in verse 14, and this is what's so wonderful how God responds to us. The Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength you have. It's almost as like he was like, whatever, go in the strength that you have, mighty warrior. You got this. Go with what I already gave you. You got this. I'm paraphrasing. And then in verse 15, but Lord, Gideon said, and then he goes on to say, how can I? He said, how can I do this? How can I save Israel? He says, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh. So not only is his clan the weakest, he says, I am the least in my family. In verse 16, the Lord answered, I will be with you. And then he goes on to tell him, basically, you're going to be victorious. And then what's beautiful about that story, and I already know I've talked about it a lot, just get used to it. What's beautiful about that story, Gideon went on and asked for all these signs. I won't even get into it because I've read it before many times. You can read it on your own. But he asked for all these signs, and I love that God didn't even get mad at him. He asked for all kinds of signs. And several times God had to show him some signs to show him that he was with them. Now I'm going to go back to where I was trying to turn to. If you go to Romans, Romans chapter 8, verse 37 says, no, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. How can we be more than a conqueror? Think about that for a moment. A conqueror is someone that, you think about it, you overcome the enemy, right? You overcome it. I'll put it in my own language. You defeat Satan and whatever he, brought against you. But to be more than a conqueror, and I read this online somewhere. Someone said, quoted, to be more than a conqueror means you literally defeated the purpose of the enemy coming. Like you nullified, I think that's the word someone used when I was looking this up, doing some Google searches. You literally nullify the purpose of the enemy coming against you. You literally nullify the plans. Does that make sense? So it's not only that you overcame it, that you survived it, but you walked victoriously because you nullify. In other words, and you already know what I'm going to say, what the enemy meant for evil, God has turned it around and made it good. So back to the story of this young man who, again, I know nothing about. If anyone knows him, you all should send this recording to him and encourage him. Well, not just him, all of the Olympians, because I don't know the difference between all of them. So I'll just say encourage anyone that's been competing with athletically in the Olympics or what have you. But specifically, he's on my mind because of that clip that I saw, just maybe like a 15-second clip. We are more than conquerors, and it's in the falls that makes us the champions, you all. What makes you a champion, my dear brother, my dear sister, if you're listening to this podcast right now, is despite everything going on in your life right now, you still have the audacity to love God. And I'm using the word audacity. You have the audacity to still give to people, even some people who you know have done you wrong, or maybe do not seemingly, I should say, appreciate all that you've done. In fact, they probably act like they don't even remember all that you've done. And some of you may be finding yourself in a low position or just feeling tired. I had a call from a friend today who was telling me that. I won't go into detail because I respect privacy, but who are just feeling tired. Like, man, I've just accomplished so many things in life, and I've given and I've given and I've given, but who's there to give to me? Who's there to appreciate all that I'm doing? Right? When is it my turn? Right? Some of you may be in that situation right now. Some of you may be feeling like, my goodness, my whole life I've just been doing my best to serve and give and help, but who's there for me when I need it? Or maybe not so much when I need it, but who's there to show the appreciation? Or maybe you are going through a difficult time. It could be something even with your finances or with your job or what have you, right? You could be, looking at your value as lower than, how God sees you. That's a whole nother subject because our value comes from Him. He's the source. That's a whole nother subject. But whatever it is that you may be going through in life, it just may be a difficult time. You're going through some things with your children or maybe your adult children. You guys know I have four. I go through my ups and downs with them. Don't think I don't. I do. What makes you a champion is that despite everything, it may even be something going on in your marriage where you're not feeling appreciated or loved or what have you. I used to lead these 30-week marriage sessions for a long time, 15-week and 30-week marriage sessions. And I remember telling my minister to bring to me the marriages that were on the verge of divorce. In fact, I didn't even say it like that. I actually said to him, I'll never forget this. I remember telling him, I said, the people that you bring into my group, because I was trained to facilitate these marriage groups. I don't even know why I'm talking about this now. You guys know I'll drift for a moment. So I'm drifting for a moment. But I was trained to be a facilitator years ago in my church to learn how to um, deal with very, very, very difficult marriage situations. And part of the training wasn't so much the training on how to deal with it, it's because I went through the mess. Let me just say that, like, name something, and I went through a tremendous amount in my own marriage. So because by God's grace, I got through those seasons and learned how to stand on top of those seasons. And that's a whole nother subject, how to change the atmosphere in my own home and in every room that I walk into. How do you actually change the atmosphere? But anyway, because I went through all of that and then I got the training, I was a facilitator and I used to lead these groups, and I would tell my minister, I want the women, because I was only teaching the women, I want the women who literally like cannot take another day, like just are at the verge of just like something's got to give. I say, bring those people into my group. I want those people to come into the group. And I just never forget. And I've led a lot of those groups. They used to come to my office. All this was free, by the way, just so you know. They come to my office at the end of the day once a week, and we would all get together. And I just remember how they were in the beginning of the sessions, because they used to say, man, Z, 30 weeks is a long time. And then how they were through the transformation they went through. I'm talking about these women became so incredibly powerful, it's not even funny. And I don't mean powerful as in going off on their husbands type power. I mean powerful as in standing in that power. I mean powerful as in moving forth in life. I mean power as in realizing, wait a minute, I'm a champion. I got the victory in this. I'm talking like their lives literally changed. And if any of them are listening to this podcast episode, or hopefully they'll comment, so you all would know I'm telling the truth. To this day, they are completely different women because they did not know that in those situations they had the upper hand. And what I mean by that, I don't mean the upper hand in terms of, um, I have more this or that than you. I mean that when you stand with God, when you stand in the spirit with him, and when you recognize the power that really is inside of you, despite what seasons you may be going through, it changes your entire outlook on life. It changes the way you even show up. So even when you have those difficult seasons, and you all know I've been through a lot of them, if you've read my book, Necessary, you already know. Even when you have those very, very difficult, dark seasons, most people are not aware we still have a choice, even in those seasons. We still have a choice with the way we see ourselves. And how are we going to stand? How are we going to walk in a room, and that whole atmosphere has to change and adjust to the higher level that we've become? And I don't mean higher level in some weird way. I mean higher level in terms of I am walking in the strength and in the power of God. Does that make sense, you all? I know I deviated a little bit. Let me get back to the champion topic. You all are champions. And many times it's because of the falls, and it's because of the difficult seasons that we go through. That's what makes us the champions in the spirit, because we still love God. We still strive to draw nearer to him. You wouldn't be still listening to this podcast episode. I think I'm about a good, I don't know, 15 minutes in. You wouldn't still be listening to this podcast episode if you were not one of the people that I'm describing right now. You still are striving to grow. If you read my book, and I should have had it in front of me, I don't have it with me right now because I'm sitting in my room. But if you read my book, Necessary, there's a chapter in there titled If Greatness Could Speak. And that chapter talks about all this time greatness was inside of you, and you didn't know it. All this time, even in some of our most difficult seasons. And some of you all may be listening to this right now. You may be on the train heading to work. You may be at home doing some cleaning. You may just be sitting down. Some of you may have tears flowing out of your eyes right now. Some of you may be so incredibly tired, it's just not even funny. And I want you to just think for a moment about that story in Gideon that I just said, that I just read to you all. Gideon saw himself as the least. He didn't see any of the wonders around. He was completely just done. But yet God looked at him and saw a mighty warrior. And even in all that you're going through right now, my dear brothers and sisters, you are highly valuable. Even if nobody is thanking you for all that you've done, all the work you've poured in, all the giving you've done, all the maybe encouragement you've done, all the sacrifices you've made, God sees it. And you are a mighty warrior. You are a champion. And even if you feel like, Z, but you don't understand this season I'm in right now, I've messed up so badly, or I've done whatever, right? And things are just in such a rough spot for me right now. You are a mighty warrior, my dear brothers and my dear sisters. You are a champion. I know this is easy to say what I'm about to say, but it's true. And I've learned this as well, you all. So I'm speaking from experience. Our value does not come in what's on the outside. Our value does not come from acclimates or compliments from others, or what's in your bank account, or how many people say thank you, or what have you, or how many people want to hang out with you, or what status or position you have in life, or whether you own a home or not, or what have you. I spoke to a lady the other day, and she said, Z, I just was thinking at this stage in life, she's kind of close to my age, she's a few years shy of 60, and she was just like, uh, Z, I never thought I'd be back living with my kids. And she was just feeling so just deflated. And I'm like, my sister, you're so incredibly valuable. It doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from the outside. It's what's within you. This is why we have to go back home. This is why we all have to return back home. This is a season in life, I really do believe, what God is calling all of us home. And when I say home, I mean back to the original intention God had in mind when he created us. I was telling God, and I even said this to him today. I've been saying this a lot lately. And I know this may go over some of your heads. Maybe, maybe not. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to sound as if, I know everything, because God knows I don't. But I was saying to God, I just thank you so much for the opportunity to be humble. I thank you. I think through the seasons in life, all the ups and downs, Even recently, some of the things I've been going through lately, if you all have been in some of my live events, and especially if you're a member of the Unlocking Greatness community, because we're pretty transparent, you all probably know a whole lot that's going on. But I just say, God, I thank you for the opportunity to be humbled. It was necessary because it's in this opportunity that I'm drawing closer to you. It's in this opportunity that I'm able to look and see the areas where I need to grow. It's in this opportunity. Notice I'm calling it an opportunity. It's in this opportunity that I see the things that I need to improve upon in my life. It's in this opportunity that I'm able to be still. Thank you for calling me back home. Thank you for still loving me. Thank you for calling me a mighty warrior, even when I don't feel like it. So I'm saying these words to you, my brother, my sister. You are a champion. I'm talking to you, the one that's kind of half believing me and half not, because you're not feeling it. You are a champion. I need for you to just take a moment to remember all of the things that you've been through in life and how much you've overcome. There are so many people that didn't make it to where you're at right now. There's so many people that would love to be in your shoes right now. There are so many people that look up to you right now. What you call a bad day or a tough season, there are people that are looking at you right now. They may not say anything and they're like, oh my God, this person is absolutely amazing. And you may not even see it. You're a champion. You're a champion because you still love God. You're a champion because you're still committed to prayer. You are a champion because even though others may not give to you the way you give to them, or may not treat you the way you treat them, or may not even show the appreciation, you are a champ. This is what's so amazing about you. You are a champion because you're not going to even allow that to change who you are. That's what makes you a champion in the spirit, my dear brothers and my dear sisters. I want to go back to this passage. I'm going to close out. I was just reading from Romans. Let me grab my Bible. Romans chapter 8, verse, where was I at? What is that? Verse 37. Knowing all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future. Did you catch that? Neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. That's what makes us a champion. No matter what we go through, nothing shall be able to separate us from the love of God. Nothing shall be able to separate us. I love you all. I pray that you've been encouraged. Go back and read these passages when you have some time. And let me give you a little bit of a challenge before I close this out, because the members in the Unlocking Greatness community, we've been focusing heavily on mindset, heavily on how they structure their day, and heavily on just how they can stop, the negative thoughts and negative cycles, when they're struggling with fears and disbelief. I want you to just spend a little bit of time when this podcast ends, just a little bit of time, just to sit and ask yourself, what has been consuming me with my thoughts throughout the day? Because we know that in Philippians, I think it's 4:8. Let me turn to it really quickly. We are to think about whatever is lovely, whatever is pure, whatever is holy, right? I'm trying to turn to it as I'm talking really quickly. What has been floating through your head the majority of the time throughout the day? Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I want you to challenge yourself. Let me monitor even my thoughts, all of the things that are going through my mind all throughout the day. Like, we can pray. I want to get us beyond just praying and reading our Bible, right? Maybe we'll do that for an hour or two each day. And then the rest of the day, you're still stressed out. You're still like overextended. You're still like all over the place. Let's flip that. Let's set one of the things I told the people in the Unlocking Greatness community. We had this in one of our live workshop sessions, and many of them said they really liked this ideal a lot. I told them, I said, one of the things that I do, I literally set an alarm. I have an alarm that goes off 3 times a day: morning, afternoon, and evening. In fact, it's probably about to go off in just a little bit, which means I need to stop this episode. But anyway, I have an alarm that goes off, and that alarm is just literally just to almost like to reset me. It literally is just like, I hate to use the word trigger, but it literally is just a reminder that, oh, that's right. That's right. This is who I'm becoming. This is who God says I am. So it just captures me in the moment, just to be reminded of who I am. Not only who I am in the spirit, but what are the thoughts that's running through my mind right now? And so it sort of like resets me, if that makes any sense, right? I just take a moment. I'm like, wait a minute, okay. What have I been thinking about these last few hours? Have I been stressed? Have I been anxious? Have I been, you know what I'm saying? And I literally stop and I'm like, okay, that's right. This is who I am. And then I'll remember a passage, or maybe I'll recite a prayer or something. It literally helps me all throughout the day to keep myself focused. Sometimes I'll put like a scarf around my neck, like my beautiful purple scarf that I love, just to be reminded, not as an idol, let me make that clear, but just to be reminded, oh, this is who I am in the presence of God. So I want you all, when this podcast ends, take just a little bit of time just to think about what is consuming you. What are these thoughts that are running rampant through your head all day? And what are you going to do? Whether you set an alarm, or you have some affirmations that you record on your phone, or maybe like me, you'll walk around with, your purple scarf or whatever on to be reminded. But what are you going to do so you can always be reminded that you are a mighty warrior? God is with you. You are a champion, my dear brothers and sisters. The battle's already been won. That's why you're victorious, even in the seasons when it doesn't look like it. When the angel of the Lord came before Gideon, he wasn't out of that season, at least in the moment, but in the spirit he was. And that's what I'm here to remind you all of, my dear brothers and sisters. The battle has already been won. All the things that you're worried about or consumed with thinking about, it already has been taken care of in the spirit. So our role, and I'm talking to myself as well as I'm talking to you all, our role is, let's go back into home position. Okay? Let's go back home. Remind me of the original intention you had in mind when you created me, and remind me of that, and let me live and walk in the purposes that you have for me. That's called going back to home position. Dr. Miles Monroe wrote a beautiful book. I think it's called The Spirit of Leadership. I've mentioned that book before. And there's another one he wrote. I can't even think of the name of it. Something like Purpose and Power, Power and Purpose, or something like that. And in one of those books, because sometimes I get them confused, he actually talks about that, about going back to home, to home, to the original source. And that's what I love, is that even when I read that, I thought, oh my God, he's literally using some of the language that I've been praying. So if you have a chance, find his book wherever, they sell his books. I'm sure they're available pretty much everywhere. But he does a beautiful job talking about going back to the original intention. That the manufacturer had in mind. Something like that. He talks about the original instructions from the manufacturer. So I want to give credit where credit is due. I think it's beautiful that he wrote those two books. You all can go out there and find them on your own. But anyway, I love you all. I'm kind of rambling right now. I love you. I love you. I love you. I want to remind you all, you are more than a conqueror. You are a champion in the spirit before God, because God is within you. Be encouraged, my dear brothers and sisters. You're listening to the Unlocking Greatness podcast with Zenja Glass. I love you all.